Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Lo Wai Tan, host of Your Money and Your Mindset, where each time I bring to you an interesting guest, an inspiring guest, a motivating guest to help you get on your way to creating lasting wealth. Now, it's not just about the money, it's about your health, it's about the relationships you get and you form. And at the end of the day, it's about enriching your life, and it just so happens that the money helps you grease the wheel, so to speak. So we're going to talk about something very pertinent at the moment if you've been watching the stock market, right? Now, I've always maintained that the only way you can predict your financial future is to create it yourself. So don't depend on the government to fix it. Don't depend on your teachers or whatever it is to fix it. You are in the driver's seat and you get to decide the direction your life goes. And it all depends on the decisions you make today. And it all depends on the sort of education you get for yourself. Good, solid education that will set you on the path to prosperity. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if you are consistent and if you're focused. Now, that's going to be a play on words, okay? Remember the word focus. Now, you got to have guts as well to do this. And so I've brought a very special guest on today because this guy's got the guts to follow his dreams despite what other people said, despite the naysayers. And he turned out to be a 28-year-old financially free person. Okay, he's not 28 now, but this is how long it took him to get financially free after working in a job. So my special guest is Mr. George Fokas, F-O-K-A-S. So focus, folks, because George applied himself, and as a result, he now spends his time traveling the world, helping other people become financially free. He's got time to hang out with his friends and his family, a young family, and he's a sort of stay-home dad who most guys would dream of, can only dream of, basically, and won't get to see their kids, tuck them in bed, or play with them during the day and so forth. So there is a lot of pluses in to being financially free. However, you got to do the hard yards. And so that's why I've brought George Fokas on to tell us how to get there. So welcome, George. How are you going?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited, dude. I'm really excited. Okay, this man actually stepped off a plane literally about an hour ago to do this show because he's so passionate about getting you folks out there to becoming financially free. So before we get to the exciting bits, we want to know about how you became financially free at 28, which is like, phenomenal.
Yeah, Loy, growing up, my parents came from a European background into Australia with no English language. They were basically put into a factory to work. And growing up, I never got to see my father because my father would work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So by the time I would come back from school and go to bed, he would still be at work. And when I wake up in the morning, he'd be at work. So growing up, I didn't know who my father was. I spent lots of time with my brother and my mother. And I always said to myself, growing up, I'm never going to do that to my kids when I have kids. Very important to me to have the family around me and being close. So I made the decision to not follow mainstream society and to step outside the box and do something different.
And you did, because one of the things is that we get told, especially with immigrant families, they tell their kids, we'll work hard, we'll support you, and you go to school, and you go to university, and you get a good job, and everything will be sweet. And you didn't go to uni, did you?
No, I didn't qualify for university or college. After I left school, I went straight into a job, and we all know what that stands for, is just on broke. And I worked my way through my job. I started off in the insurance industry in 1993, and from that I worked my way up. My father always said to me, never invest on the stock market. The stock market is evil. So I was conditioned from starting work at the age of 17 that never look at the stock market. My father always said bricks and mortar. So when I started my job in 93, I saved enough in 1996 to buy my first property in Sydney. Then from 96 to 99, I bought 5 properties. And then my father had that impression of the stock market being evil. So I was conditioned, I guess, from constantly being told, never look at the stock market is evil, bricks and mortar property. So I started building a property portfolio. And I guess when I bought 5 properties in '99, I hit a brick road, like a brick wall, sorry. I wasn't able to buy any more. The banks wouldn't give me any more. There was no equity in the properties that I owned. So I had to think outside the square. And that's where I started looking at the stock market.
Wow. So you obviously have got a plan for somebody so young that, you know, property, which actually is in a way correct, because people do build their wealth from property, don't they? I mean, that is a legitimate way of doing it. However, you said... Yeah, but you said you actually got to the stage where you couldn't finance any more new property acquisitions. So really, in a way, it stymied your growth. Did you ever think that property was going to be the only way for you to retire? And you know, people do their sums, right? And they say, I can become financially free in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So did you have that sort of plan as well?
I did. Growing up and being in school, I had a plan to try to retire at a young age. I wanted to not be in the mainstream society of, you know, the education system. Let's just quickly talk about the education system. The education system teaches us to go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a piece of paper, then get a high-paying job, pay more tax, and rely on the system to eventually rely on the social security or the pension and live off that. We're also taught to save after-tax dollars and try to live the lifestyle with after-tax dollars. Now, we all know the wealthy use pre-tax dollars to actually live off, and then whatever's left, pay tax on. And that's basically what I wanted to achieve in life. So instead of listening to my father, who always had opinions but never actually did anything, or family around me, I decided to think outside the square and do something different. You could probably say I was the black sheep of the family.
Wow, so you sound like a rebel.
No, I'm not a rebel. It was just about providing the lifestyle. You know, I saw how hard my father worked, and yes, he did achieve some great things, but he physically worked for his money. I wanted to have money work for me so I could spend the time with my family. It's not about materialistic things. It's not about having the fancy cars and the fancy houses and the clothes. You know, people buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like. So for me, it was about being able to do the things that I love, and the first thing was spending time with my wife and my family and having money work for me. So thinking outside the square was my ultimate goal, and by doing that, I did hit a brick wall with regards to property, so I had to consider the stock market. Now, you know, property is a long-term vehicle. We were taught in the 80s and 90s, buy, hold, and pay off a home loan over 25, 30 years, and eventually you'll get some capital growth and the rental return you could live off. But that's 30 years down the track. I didn't want to wait 30 years. So for me to get involved in property, I could have gotten into developments or into, you know, rehabs or renovations. But again, that takes time and effort, and I didn't want to have to put in that time and effort. So I decided to consider the stock market and realize that there is cash flow to be generated from the stock market. As long as you've got the right strategies and the right mindset in place, that will then allow me to put that cash flow into property to build a property portfolio. So now I've got a cash flow strategy, which is the stock market, and then I've got a long-term strategy being property. So I consider myself recession and depression proof because I've got income coming in and I've got a capital growth strategy.
Wow, that's great. I like the idea. So folks out there, take note what he said about the stock market, cash flow. A lot of people will only understand that the stock market is I buy at this price, I later sell at a price above what I bought, therefore it is capital growth, yay, yay. You're saying it's quite the opposite. You can use your stock market acquisitions to fund your property portfolio because there is cash flow. Now that is the heart of your strategy that we're going to talk about, people. A lot of people don't understand that, don't even know that it exists. And in fact, you have proof because you went to Wall Street and you went to one of the pits and you went to one of the traders and you said, do you know about options? And they said, what? So can you just tell us that story? Because I think it's fascinating.
Absolutely. But let me just take one step back and look at the stock market. 95% of people know the stock market as you have to outlay money into the market and sit and wait and watch the markets in the hope that the market either goes up to make money, or you can also make money if the market goes down by either shorting or you know, trading the options market. Now, 95% of people will what I call speculate. You can say gamble, you can call it whatever you like. 95% of people will put money into the market in the hope to make money with no real guarantee of a return. But 5% of people will actually create the market. And what I mean by creating the market, I mean they will open their positions, majority of their positions, with a credit as opposed to a debit. So 5% of people will create the market and earn an income up front on their investment, irrespective of whether the stock market today will go up or down, tomorrow, next week, or next month. So what I teach is how to create the market and open your positions with a credit every month and be paid no matter whether the market will go up or down, as opposed to what the majority teach of outlay some money, buy either a stock, a future contract, an option, or a commodity, or a forex, and wait for the markets to move in a particular direction to make money. So I'm teaching you how to create, opening your positions with a credit as opposed to a debit, and generating monthly income guaranteed banked into your account, irrespective of whether the market goes up or down.
Wow, if this is, this is obviously a legitimate strategy, but 99% of people, like you say, won't even know it exists. Why is that?
Correct. A lot of banks and a lot of big institutions and brokerage firms actually apply this strategy. It is one of the lowest risk strategies and the safest strategies out in the stock market right now. But what you need to understand is this. Let's look at brokers, for example. A broker is in business purely for what? Brokerage and commissions. So a broker is in business to generate commissions, because if a broker really knew how to make money, what are they doing in a job wearing a suit and tie, going into an office working 9 to 5? And I could say the same for fund managers. I'm not here to disrespect anybody, but I could say the same for fund managers. Fund managers get their clients to put their money into the funds that pay the most commissions. Because if a fund manager really knew which funds would pay the most return on investment for their clients, they'd be sitting at home like I do, making my own money instead of relying on somebody else. So a lot of people won't teach this strategy. As I said, banks and institutions and a lot of brokerage firms implement this strategy. Now, when banks and institutions invest on the stock market, do you think they want to take on risk, or do you think they want to transfer risk to somebody else? Very important question. And I'm pretty sure you're thinking banks don't want to take on risk, they want to transfer risk to somebody else. And that's what
Mm-hmm. Hello, George.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
I think you burned out the microphone.
I was talking too much.
No. This is very important. You said banks are very, I won't say sneaky. I said it anyway. They will transfer the risk to the person who is unaware, okay, of the risks. And yet they use the strategy that you've just described to get a lot of return on capital investment. So my question is, how do we, okay, what do we have to do to not be the bunny in this sort of transaction? Because the mums and dads, investors, they seem to me sometimes like very trusting, but they're like lambs to slaughter. So
look,
what can you do to help?
I mean, the way for someone to learn the stock market, they need to be educated on the stock market. Unfortunately, with a lot of events and a lot of people out there running events and teaching stock market, they want to teach you how to speculate. They want to teach you, and they'll get up on stage and they will tell you how many of you want to make 20, 30% overnight, 40% overnight. But what people don't understand, and especially the average mum and dad investor, when they hear 20, 30% overnight, they get excited, but they don't understand the risk involved with a return of 20, 30%. So a strategy that can pay you 20, 30% overnight or in a day can risk you 20, 30% or more. So it is very important for a lot of people to be educated and have the right education. Many people have invested in trading the market and speculating and have been burnt. I will use the word burnt, where they've lost a lot of money, invested a lot of money in buying programs or education, and really are scared now to get back into the market. What I'm doing right now is I am traveling around the world teaching people and showing people that, hey, there is two sides to the stock market. You can learn how to create the market. An average person like myself and yourself and the listeners can go into the market, create the market just like the banks and the institutions do, generate a small return on your investment up front every month, irrespective of whether the market goes up or down. Now, I will make it very clear, the return that we generate is not big. It is a very small return, but we generate that up front with certainty banked into our account. So most people would sit and allocate a lot of time to watch charts and screens and understand technical analysis and all that. We don't have to do any of that. The benefit of what I teach and what I've been implementing for the last 13 years on the stock market allows me to put in 5 or 10 minutes a day with an average of 60 minutes a month, close my computer, spend the rest of the month to do the things that I love while I have money working for me, and I don't have to worry about whether the market today is up or down because that is irrelevant to my strategy.
Wow, that's very powerful. I mean, people are probably processing what you've just said, you know, it doesn't matter whether it goes up or down, less than an hour a month, and then the money gets into my bank account. Some people will be going, hey, this is too good to be true, too good to be true. Now, in fact, you demonstrated, I've seen you talk and you demonstrated this can happen. But before we get to that, all I want to do is get people to also understand you didn't just come up with the idea like this. You actually had a long path to go through where you talked about how you went in once, you went in twice, you went in 3 times. And you know, you got smacked about the head. Let's be honest, okay? And like being punched in the guts, but each time you stood up and said, "I'm going to go again." So, what was that? Some people will say that's foolish. It's not, because the end result is now you are where you are. But also, it takes guts and bravery. Where did you get the strength to keep going when you blew up your account? Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Well, let me go back to late 99, or actually, in fact, early 99. In early 99, after having 5 properties, I wanted to buy property number 6, and the bank wouldn't allow me to. So I was a bit disappointed, and I got home, and my father saw that I was upset because I couldn't buy the other property. And he said to me, I have a great idea. He said, I know how you're going to be able to get that next property. And I thought my father had this brilliant idea. I said, what, Dad? And he said, go get a second job. Now, to me, that was not a solution, because I did not want to have to work harder to generate more income. So I did consider the stock market. Now, the way I learnt about the stock market was going to seminars, where I'd be sitting in a room for 4 days with people up on stage talking about their products and promoting their products. I guess we will call it a pitch. You know, so I went to seminars, 4 days of someone pitching after pitching after pitching all these different programs and products. I bought my first product, or options trading, let me say, in '99 here in Australia, in Sydney. And I thought I was going to be a millionaire in a year, because they were talking about 30% overnight and follow what I do, and if it goes up, you'll make money, or if we predict the markets to go down and it goes down, you're going to make all this money. So I was really excited about it. And then from that, I started going to seminars. I bought my second program teaching the advanced options trading. Then I bought a Forex program and a commodities program. I'd outlaid over $40,000 in '99 to teach me how to lose $70,000 in the first year. It was brilliant. So my father had said to me, I told you can't make money from the stock market. Now, I considered it as this. Now, I thought, my father's telling me you can't make money from the stock market. The first question I asked my father was, have you ever invested on the stock market? And my father came back and said, no, I haven't. And all I said to my father was, thank you very much for your opinion. I don't want to hear it. Because I've built 9 pillars of income in my life right now, from when I started in '96 up until right now. 9 passive pillars that pay me irrespective of whether I get out of bed or not. Now, the way to do that was model people who do things well and can prove results. I found people who were doing what I wanted to do, and I modeled what they do. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So in '99, after outlaying $40,000 to buy 4 programs, losing over $70,000, I had to find a way to generate income on the stock market. Now, over the last 13 years, I've actually gone through 18 accountants. I'm actually up to number 19 right now, and I'll tell you why. Every time I've wanted to build a pillar of income, and I've gone to my accountant and asked, can you assist me to build this pillar, this stream of income, and they've said, oh, it's too hard, you can't do it. The first question I ask them is, are you doing this? And if they haven't been doing what I wanted to do, well, it's purely their opinion. So all I've said is, thank you very much for your opinion. I'll find someone who's going to tell me how to do it, not how not to do it. So one thing if I can say is this, if any of you listening want to take away, is this: don't allow someone's opinion become your reality. Now, so many people have negative opinions. We all have dreams, visions, and goals just like I did. And what I did was I wrote my dreams and my goals down, because written words leave impressions, spoken words evaporate. So every time I wanted to achieve my dream or my goal, I wanted to find someone that's going to tell me how to do it, not how not to do it. So I went through 18 accountants. I'm up to number 19 right now, and from that I was able to build my pillars, and I was able to invest on the stock market. My father said to me, you've invested $40,000, you've lost all this money, I told you you can't make money from the stock market. And all I said to my father was, that is your opinion, you've never invested on the stock market, I don't want to hear it. So lo and behold, I go to another event, another seminar, with all these speakers up on stage telling me how wonderful they are and how much money they're going to make me, and I said, I've heard it all before. But what happened was this: there was one particular gentleman, and he got up and started talking about how many of you would like to create the market as opposed to speculate on the market. And from that, I took note. Even though it sounded too good to be true, I looked into it. And I realized that for me, buying those 4 investment programs, outlaying $40,000, they taught me how to speculate. But on the other side of that, someone was creating these contracts that I was taught to buy. So I actually jumped ship and went over to the other side. And from that, in late '99, early 2000, at the age of 25, I invested $10,000 into the markets. By the age of 28, on the 8th of March 2003, I was able to stop my JOB and rely on the markets to generate income for me. So that is where I started. I got up that one extra time instead of accepting defeat or listening to other people around me giving me their opinions. So I found someone who was achieving what I wanted to achieve, and all I did was model what they did. Now, people said to me, George, you outlaid all this money, you've lost all this money, why didn't you go after them for your money, why didn't you do all this sort of stuff? And I thought, well, you know, understand this, if it wasn't for those investment programs that I bought, I wouldn't be here right now. That's the path I had to follow to get to where I am. So even though I fell down 4 times, I got back up that one extra time, and getting up that one extra time has allowed me to achieve what I wanted to achieve in life.
Well, that's fantastic. I want people to hear that, you know, not dredge up the past for the sake of the past, but I want people to understand that you might have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes before you get to where you want to be, and that each time, even though it hurts, and it hurts you in the hip pocket, it hurts you, and you know, with people pointing, laughing, telling you, see, I told you so, and that it's actually difficult to accept. But the point is, you have that self-belief that I am on the right track. I'm just figuring out how to get there. And now that you've done it, it must be very gratifying. But you talked about how your family was kind of not particularly supportive in that sense. Yeah. That, for a lot of people, is very hard to take, because for them, family is very important. And they tend to sort of go with the family opinion. So with you, how did you manage that in yourself, in the sense that, you know, you love your dad, but yet you're saying, look, you don't know what you're talking about, really, is what you're saying. And in certain cultures, we are taught not to question authority, and to accept it. So what sort of mind shift did you have to go through to still be able to follow and focus on your path and yet be, you know, on good terms with your folks and your relatives?
Well, back in '99, when I'd invested the 40,000 and lost over 70, I was actually getting married and building a house. So my future wife was not impressed with what had happened, nor was my father, in the fact that we had saved all this money and this money was gone from the stock on the stock market. And I started to sort of keep inside me of what I was doing, because I knew mainstream and my family and close people around me would not approve of the decisions I made. But the last thing I wanted to do was ask for people's opinions, because, no disrespect to my future wife or my wife now, my wife had never invested on the stock market. My father had never invested on the stock market. So purely it was their opinions. Now, most people have dreams, visions, or goals, and they get excited about it because they've had this idea, and they go to speak to someone, and that someone will tell them, oh, you can't do that, it's too hard, or so-and-so is doing it, is not doing well with it, and it deflates people. It deflates us, and then we get back into our comfort zone, and we don't actually achieve those dreams, visions, and goals that we have because of someone's opinion. In my case, yes, I'm very close to my family and my father and my wife, and I didn't want to disappoint them, but I had this passion and this drive of what I wanted to achieve. So I didn't take on anyone's opinion. I didn't procrastinate. You know, I'm just an average person. I'm just an ordinary person like everybody else. Nothing was handed to me on a silver platter. In my case, I fell a lot of times, but I got back up that one extra time. And that's really, you know, what allowed me to get to where I am. The other thing was not listening to other people's opinions and having a drive, a passion, writing down the goal of what I wanted and allowing no one to stop me achieving that. So that's really what it was. Keeping what I wanted to do inside, doing what it took to achieve it without talking to many people around me, including my immediate family, and doing what it took to achieve it. That's really the difference. I mean, you know, there's no difference between you or I. As I said before, nothing was given to me on a silver platter. I had to do everything all by myself. But I saw opportunities and I grabbed them. I didn't procrastinate. A lot of opportunities came to me. They felt good. I didn't want to wait to think about it. I didn't want to talk to my wife about it. I didn't want to talk to my father about it. When I saw something and it felt right, I grabbed it. And it's because of that action, it's allowed me to be where I am today.
Wow, that in a sense you deserve a medal for bravery, because that is bravery, that is courage to continue on your path despite other people saying it can't be done. And it is a very lonely road that you're traveling sometimes, because it's only you and you relying on yourself, and also a belief, probably in the faith, that it is the right path for you and what you want to create for your kids as well, your legacy. Now, you, just changing subjects slightly, you've just come off a plane from the States, right, where you teach this to the folks out in America, and you travel all the time over there. Can you tell me what the mood is there for the average people, mums and dads, not the Wall Street banksters, who have to consider where their spending power is going down, where there is still, I guess, a mood of not 100% optimism, where unemployment is like 7.5% at the moment, and how is it that you can go there and those people that take on board what you say? I mean, what do you see in the eyes of these people? Is it desperation, or is it something to hope for? Okay, so while we're getting George back on the line, I just want to repeat again that George has been just this fantastic guy who's learned how to read the stock market and set up a great way of generating income for himself, where he no longer had to work 50 hours a week. His name is George Fokas. The name of his group is Focus Beyond, because what he does is it's pretty amazing at getting people out of the rat race, the treadmill of working really, really hard for some sort of return 35 years down the track if you're lucky. So his strategy that he's been teaching actually helps people to, without speculating, without committing large amounts of money, a very nice income stream, very, very consistently. And his method is one of those that has a lot of, I guess, how shall I put it, has a lot of promise. Then again, it's got to do with your mindset and how you see that. Just listening to George before, where he talked about having failed supposedly 3 times, spent $40,000 on these programs that didn't teach him how to be a market maker, but somebody who was a speculator. Now you got to give credit to the guy who doesn't who doesn't give up.
I don't know. It must be tired like I am after flying for 16 hours.
But we're back. I've just given everybody a synopsis of what you've said. I mean, no, this is really exciting. I have a feeling it's because you keep talking, you're burning up the wires, because people are saying, hey, this is energy. There's a lot of energy going through here, and we want more of that energy. So in terms of what we're talking about, you being in the States, and you know, what do you sense in the mood of the people there, and what have you done to help people get off the mat?
Yeah, the sense in the US and the people in the US with everything that's happened in regards to their economy, and it is growing slowly but surely, and they're starting to get back on track. The mood is very, very dull. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are looking for work. Any money that they do have, they're holding on to very tight. They don't want to invest. I would say, you know, people are struggling. I've met people who are struggling, and don't get me wrong, I've met people who are doing very well, but the people that I'm dealing with and I'm seeing are the ones that are struggling, and they're the people that I want to be able to work with and help generate and build multiple pillars of income to sustain the lifestyle that they want to live, and to prove and show them that there are opportunities out there. It's just finding the right opportunity for you. And you know, I was presenting on the weekend in Los Angeles, in California, and you know, I was up from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night. I jumped on a plane. I've been up actually just over 30 hours to speak here. And you know, the mood is great when you can teach someone and show someone that, hey, you can create the stock market, you can generate a small return banked into your account, no matter whether the market is up or down. You do not have to sit in front of a computer screen every day. You don't have to watch the market. You don't need to understand all the jargon with regards to the stock market. And you can start building another pillar of income while you still do the things that you love. Even if that is your JOB for the moment, you're now having money start to work for you instead of you work for money. I have a former US Marine who is a member of mine and came out from Afghanistan, and I've been teaching him how to create the markets. Now, we're only earning a small return on his investment, and it is about 2.5% a month. Now, when you consider in the US, money in a term deposit is 0.01 to 0.05% per year, yeah, correct. It is very little. Now, money in a bank is not safe. It's not as safe as what it used to be. So, you know, if I can teach the average American how to invest in the markets, create the markets, do not speculate in the markets, earn anywhere between 1 to 4% a month on your investment, they have basically outperformed their fund managers in their 401ks or their IRAs or their Roths, or in anywhere around the world, their pension funds or their super funds. So, you know, a lot of pension funds and super funds over the last 12 years have not performed the way the people expect them to perform. But fund managers are still generating income from them and still getting paid, no matter whether they make money for their clients or not. So me educating and teaching, along with my team behind me, teaching clients how to earn anywhere between 1 to 4% conservatively a month, and in addition, having their capital protected on the stock market, that is phenomenal. And a lot of people are jumping to this to learn how to do this, purely to start building multiple pillars of income and allowing money to work for them so they can start living the lifestyle. So again, 1 to 4% a month is not going to make them rich, and I make that very clear to people. I'm not going to teach them how to retire in a year's time or how to double their money in a year. It does not happen. If anyone tells you that, do not believe them. It does not happen. In regards to, you know, a client or someone in the state putting in $2,000, if we can show them with as little as $2,000 how to make a return on investment, whether it's $20 for the month or $40 for the month, if they can see that happening month in, month out, and they can build some knowledge and confidence, it then allows them to grow that. So people believe in America, especially in America, that you need a lot of money to invest to make money on the stock market. You know, you don't need a lot of money. With as little as $2,000, you can start investing and building cash flow from day one banked into your account. And that's the key that I try to get across when I present around the world this strategy. With as little as $2,000, you could start. Earn a small return on your investment up front that you can see, allocating no more than 5 to 10 minutes a day with an average of 60 minutes a month. Build some confidence, some knowledge, learn how to implement this, discover the tools and the techniques that's going to make this strategy valid for the rest of your life. Now, Laura, you did mention before that I did not create this strategy. Absolutely I didn't. This strategy has been available since 1974 or 1973. All I've done is I've taken a basic strategy underground and pumped it with steroids and taken it to a whole new level, taken out all the testosterone and all the jargon, so the average mum and dad investor would be able to take it on board, discover the tools and techniques, and run with it that's valid for the rest of their lives.
Wow. So that aspect is something that is, I think, very much needed out there as a vehicle for creating wealth. Now, the other side, mums and dads looking back at you, do you feel that you have to, each time, you have to help them with their mindset around this, in the sense that you can give 10 people the same strategy and you're going to get 10 different results, yes?
Absolutely, because each person has a different scenario in their life and different things that are happening in their life. And the benefit of what we teach and what we offer, and it goes back to '99 when I invested in these 4 programs. I was at a seminar, I invested in a program, they mailed it to me. I had to go through the DVDs and the CDs and read the manual, and whenever I got stuck, I was always referred back to the FAQs in the back of the folder, or if you've got a question, jump on or call the call center and hopefully someone can answer it. But that wasn't the way I learnt, and it was very difficult for me because I needed someone to hold my hand and guide me and teach me. So when I set up my organization, Fokas Beyond, to teach this strategy that I've been implementing for 13 years, over the last 8 years that I've been actually presenting and teaching, I've built a team behind me that actually coaches and mentors every single one of our clients. So for 12 months, each individual client of ours gets their hand held where we guide them and teach them every step of the way so they are able to implement this strategy with confidence while we're looking over their shoulder, making sure everything they do is correct and everything they're learning is correct. And that's very important because a lot of people are very scared to invest on the stock market. But when they've got someone holding their hand and guiding them every step of the way, it makes a difference. I didn't have that, and that is why in my case now, when I was on the side of listening to presenters and listening to people present their programs and their products, I wanted that coaching, that mentoring. Now that I'm on the other side and I'm actually educating and teaching other people around the world, thousands of my clients around the world now get coached and mentored. That is very important to allow the clients to be able to do this with confidence and have the knowledge behind them and us watching over them to make sure they do this correctly.
Oh, that's wonderful, because that usually is the moral support a lot of people need, because they go into this period of self-doubt. And I know there's this thing called buyer's remorse, right? They get excited, they hear the presenter, they sign it, and then they get this, like you say, DVD pack, and they go, oh my God, what do I do with it now? And they feel as though they're on their own, and that's where a lot of people fail, or they half implemented, I said that word, and and then it just, you know, cacks itself. So yeah, you're saying that your guys and your team will actually support them, because really it is a mindset thing, isn't it? You've got the piece of paper, you've got the instructions that tell you how to do it, and yet people will be afraid to put an option on, or to whatever it is that you do. So in that sense, where can they get in touch with you if they go, look, if I can't see this guy live, there must be somewhere I can get in touch with you to get more information and, you know, get a real sense of who you are. You come across to me as a very genuine guy who's actually, in a sense, I sense the hurt and the disappointments that you had have become the energy that's given you the drive to want and teach everybody else to shortcut the pain that you went through. And also to build a life that you have now, which you obviously enjoy, and you can do what you want to do, because money has brought you back your time to be with your family and your friends.
Correct. Now, look, when I travel around the world and I present this strategy, I don't get up on stage and make people laugh or make them feel good or use the right words because, you know, when I used to go to these events, they used to raise me up to a certain level. So by the time I got home or a couple of days later, I was deflated. And again, buyer's remorse. You think, what have I done? And that's the thing, you know, no matter what people do, whether it is stock market, whether people invest in personal development, mindset, internet marketing, whatever people do, people need to put action in. It's not going to work if you don't put the time and effort in. You know, you don't go buy a gym membership and expect to have a six-pack the next day. You've got to go to the gym. Day one, you're excited, you go to the gym. Day two, you wake up, you're feeling a bit sore. You know, you go to the gym, but you're thinking about it. By day three, you're thinking, what have I done? I don't want to go. By day 4, 5, and 6, you're at that level where you think, I can't do this, I'm in pain. And, you know, if you don't keep pushing yourself, you're not going to achieve the goals you want to achieve. One key thing when I do present around the world this strategy is showing clients results. There's no point in me jumping up and down and making them feel good and using all these fancy words. And there's no point in me showing them what we have done 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 3 months ago, or 3 years ago, because that's irrelevant. It's important to show clients what they can generate today in their account if they take the action. And that's what I teach. When I present, I show clients what they can generate right now in their account if they're willing to step up to the mark and take action. So it's very important. And, you know, for people to learn more about this, by all means, they can subscribe and receive my newsletter that's on my website. The website is www.focusbeyond.com. Focus as FOKASBEYOND.com. They can subscribe to the newsletter. I have a lot of content through that newsletter, and once they put in their details, they'll receive a lot of content. I don't do a lot of pitching. They're not going to get pitched at. It's just purely content for them to understand the strategy. Then they get access to me so they can email myself either through info@focusbeyond.com or they can email me directly, george@focusbeyond.com. That is my direct personal email. No one screens it. I get it on my phone and on my computer, and I'll reply to any questions people have. If people want to see my results, if people want to see what my members are generating, if people want to see what we can generate right now in the markets, I'd be more than happy to show them. Because realistically, it's about the results and it's about whether people can do this or not. Everything else is irrelevant. But instead of taking on people's opinions, because another thing is this, Lois, when I present this strategy, a lot of people will go back to their fund managers or their brokers and say, what do you think of this strategy? And you know, a lot of brokers will tell you, don't touch that strategy. We can make you more money than this. Or fund managers will say, no, don't do that strategy. You know, we're doing other things. Of course, a fund manager and a broker is going to tell you, don't do a strategy. You want to know why? Because they're going to lose brokerage and commission and they're going to lose a client when you're going to learn how to do this on your own without having to rely on anybody else, not even us in the end. Because the way we implement this, there's no monthly fees, there's no subscriptions, there's nothing to download. It's all web-based, it's all internet-based. You can do this anywhere around the world. You can travel and do this. As long as you've got an internet connection or a cell phone, a smartphone that has internet, you can implement this strategy. And that's the best thing about it. So all we do to our members is we provide them with a learner's manual. We teach them how to drive, then they can choose the vehicle they want to drive without having to rely on anybody else but themselves.
Wow, this is true because you said just about anybody can do this, and just tell us the range of ages that you have of your clients, because this blew me away when you said that the other day. Yeah,
my youngest client at the moment is 6, and my oldest at the moment is 74. So
all right, folks,
most people are within
74.
6 to 74. My 6-year-old, I basically taught the parents and myself and the parents taught the 6-year-old. Then the parents put money into an account and have allowed the 6-year-old to trade that account.
Wow! And that 6-year-old will not have to finish school at this rate and still be very wealthy.
Correct. I actually have a client right now who his son at age 13 has put in $5,000 into an account and is trading this account in America. And they're from America, and by the age of 25, he will have about $125,000 earning just over $3,000 a month. And a comment that this child made at age 13 was, Dad, I can then choose a job that I want to do as opposed to a job that I have to do.
Wow, that is
And I just thought
phenomenal.
that was phenomenal.
That is the best gift a parent can give a child, is to teach them how to become financially independent and savvy with money, which most of us growing up didn't quite get. We were told to, get good grades in algebra and calculus, which I can still do, by the way. Um, but it doesn't give you
No.
the financial independence at the end. Now, I know you're also very passionate about teaching school kids, so just tell people what you do now that you've got the time. Yeah, seeing that the money
Correct.
aspect is taken care of, you've got the time to put back into the community, which I really love because it shows where your heart is. So just tell us about that.
Yeah, I have a couple of group of kids that I actually teach in school and outside of school, where in my own time, for free, I'm actually teaching these children how to create the stock market. So all I'm doing is this, teaching them the techniques, giving them the tools, allowing them to discover how to create the stock market so they can implement it whenever they want to. Now, a lot of these kids are under the age of 18. So as we all know, a child under the age of 18 legally cannot open an account unless their parents do it, and that's something up to the family or the parents to make a decision. But children under the age of 18 that I'm teaching, all I'm saying is this: once you've learned how to implement this strategy and learn how to create the markets, it's valid for the rest of your life. You will then be able to implement it 5, 10 years down the track. You could pick up the information and apply it. Because it's like this. Once you've learned how to ride a bike, you can't unlearn how to ride a bike, whether you rode a bike last week or 5 years ago. If someone brought a bike to you, people who have learned how to ride a bike could pick up a bike and ride it. Now, you don't need to be a good chef to cook a good meal. But as long as you understand how to do it, you don't need to be a master at it. You just need to learn it and discover it. And that's what I'm doing with these kids inside of school and outside of school right now here in Australia. Now,
That's fantastic.
when it comes to the schooling system, I don't want to upset anybody. My wife is a teacher, but I believe the schooling system is outdated. Education should be right now, go to school to learn how to read, speak, and write the chosen language, and then go out and seek specialised knowledge in whatever field you want to go into. That is what I believe education should be. Not the way we are taught to be part of the rat race and work in a job for the rest of our lives and use after-tax dollars to substantiate and live the lifestyle that we want to do.
Yeah, as an aside, I think the education system produces people who are good taxpayers, and that's about it.
Correct. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. I met a gentleman, Keith, in Newport Beach in California, and Keith said to me, "George, I've been working 30 years for this same company. I will be able to retire at the middle of this year, and I finally won the rat race." And I said, "Keith, you may feel that you've worked 30 years for this money and you're able to retire and you finally won the rat race, but you're still a rat because you've worked for your money."
Wow, that's
it's
pretty
about
potent.
learning how to build multiple pillars of income as opposed to relying on one stream of income, and that's your job.
Yep. Yep. And really, there's no such thing as job security anymore. And like I said at the start, the only way to predict your financial future is to create it. And you are actually teaching people a means of doing it without getting burnt, because you have strategies in place where, like you say, your capital is protected. And that's something that a lot of fund managers will not tell you, that in fact you are out on a limb. And like you say, whether your funds make money or not, the fund manager still gets paid his fees, which is not performance-based. And what you're saying is that people have to come back and take the power back, really, and be in charge of their own financial future, even though it's scary. And I bet you must have had butterflies in your stomach when you first signed up for your first course, and you thought, but what the hell, I need to do this anyway.
Absolutely. I had to take that step, and as much as I was conditioned that the stock market was evil growing up by my father, I had to think outside the square and take some action. And again, that was his opinion. So when learning how to create the markets and earn an income, small return consistently every month on the markets without having to speculate, and knowing that I can protect my capital. Now, we all know that there's risk on the markets. There is no such thing as 100% risk-free, whether it's stock market or whether it's anything else. Now, with regards to capital protection on the stock market, we can protect anywhere between 90 to 99% of our capital anytime we enter the market. So there is exposure and there is risk on the markets with what we teach, but our exposure is no more than 10%. It's what we call our deductible, just like your car insurance. You have to outlay the first lot of money if your car was written off, for example, or if your house was burnt down. And that's the same with the stock market. Knowing that we can protect anywhere between 90 to 99% of our capital and earn a return on investment is phenomenal, because there is no strategy right now out there, whether stock market or anything else, that can tell you what your return is going to be up front and what your risk is before you even outlay a cent. With what we teach, we can tell you what your return is and what your risk is before you even outlay a cent in the stock market. So an individual person will be able to analyze and assess whether they're willing to invest X amount of dollars to earn Y and risk Z. So this is what I love about the strategy. We have all this information in front of us before we even outlay a cent into the market, and then earning credit income into our account, as opposed to outlaying money speculating like 95% of people do.
Okay, so people out there, you've heard what George has to say, so check him out. It will be at focusbeyond.com, or you can email him directly, which is very rare for somebody to do that. It's george@focusbeyond.com, and get him to show you the statements from his students who, not just him, because he's been at it a long time, people who've just started and are actually making a decent return, like you say, not enormous, because that's getting into the realm of speculating, but consistently performing every month, and are happy people who've given him the testimonials, because I think this is one strategy that you really, really need to go and investigate for yourself, if nothing else, because, like I said, there's no such thing as job security anymore, and you better create your own financial future. So at the end of it all, George, now that you've got all that time to spend with your kids, how do you bring them up to understand the value of a dollar, to appreciate what they've got, and to give them the financial knowledge so that you can rest as a parent that your kids know how to look after themselves financially?
Great question, Lloyd, but I actually want to take one step back, because I know a lot of people, one question that people ask with regards to that is, well, George, if you're making all this money, why are you traveling? Why are you teaching us? Why aren't you just staying at home doing it yourself? Why are you out there? Now, people need to understand, back in '99, I was in the rat race. I was working for my money, one pillar of income, or in fact it was two with my property, and my mentors taught me to build multiple pillars of income, and I modeled what other people were doing to get to the level of where they were. I'm now in a position to do the same back. Now, I have a choice. I choose to travel around the world to teach. I don't have to. So I enjoy traveling, I enjoy meeting like-minded people, and I enjoy teaching this strategy to the average mum and dad who believes they can't achieve success, and holding their hand and guiding them with my team and showing them that anyone can achieve success if you have the desire to do it. Key word, desire. So in that case, one thing I teach my children right now is this. This world is all about materialistic things. Don't worry about the materialistic things. Learn how to have money work for you and do the things that you love and that you're passionate about, and by doing that, money will flow back into you. In addition, I teach my kids to be positive, have a positive mindset. Because if people have negative mindsets, negativity comes to them. Positive thoughts produce positive effects. Negative thoughts produce negative effects. So the key thing for me to my children right now is, it's not about materialistic things. What I want to teach my kids is to have a positive outlook in life, be positive, and associate themselves with positive people. Because if they hang around negative people, they will become negative. And another key thing I say to my kids is this. If you rely on handouts from myself and my wife, they will get nothing in return, because I expect my kids to be able to stand up for themselves and do what they want to do. Now, I don't care if my kids do not go to university. I don't care if my kids don't go to college. If my child says, I want to be someone who travels, or I want to be someone who cleans the streets, I really don't care if they're passionate about that. I will support them 100%. But if my kids sit back and expect mum and dad to be able to hand money to them and they can just sit and do nothing, they get nothing. And that's one thing I teach my kids. My kids are very young at the moment, and it's important for us to educate our children. You know, we can't rely on the system. We can't rely on the government or the education system. No one's going to do it but us. And the only way we do it, and the only way we can teach our kids, is educating ourselves. My father could not teach me something he did not know. He could only teach me something he knew or something he thought he knew. So this is why, you know, when my father didn't know what he didn't know, he couldn't teach me. And now I'm trying to teach my kids what I do know, and I'm trying to teach my kids to think outside the square and build the mindset. By that will allow them to live the lifestyle that they want and do the things they want. And by having a positive outlook and a positive mindset, positive things will come back to them.
That's very true. That's one aspect that we didn't cover today, is the people you associate with most of the time actually will influence your outcome. So in that sense, did you have to lose all the acquaintances and friends you had when you were in a JOB and find new ones?
The sad part is, Lorway, not only did I lose friends and acquaintances, family members as well. And it's a sad reality in that you know, family members around me were negative, or believed the stock market was evil and what I was doing was wrong and I'm going to lose all this money. Instead of being positive and supporting me, people were you know, negative about it, and also, you know, wanting to see me fail. So in that respect,
that's a bit heavy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's reality. So in that respect there, you know, you still acknowledge and talk to people, but you can choose who your friends are, and it does happen, unfortunately. You do change who you associate with because of the way you change your mindset. You know, if you're going to hang around, now don't get me wrong, you hang around your friends because you love them, but if they're going to be negative and they're not going to support you or push you to achieve the things that you want to do, you're going to find someone that is going to help you. Otherwise, you will still stay in the circle that you're in, and you're still going to do the same things that you're doing. You know, I'll tell you, most people get out of the same side of the bed every day, do the same thing every day, go to work at the same time, have lunch at the same time, get home at the same time, watch the same TV shows, and expect a different result. Now, we all know what they call that. So unless you're willing to step out of that comfort zone and do something different, you won't achieve what you want to achieve. And that's basically what people need to learn. Passion, drive, and write down your goals, folks. Written words leave impressions. Spoken words evaporate. Don't talk about your dreams and your goals. Write them down. In addition, be date specific. Don't say I want to be a millionaire, because that's not specific. If you want to have $1 million in your bank account, write it down. I want $1 million in my bank account by the 31st of December 2013. That is specific. So when you go to bed at night, the last thing you see is your goal. The first thing you see when you wake up is, what's your purpose today? Why are you getting out of bed?
That's great. That's one of the things. It's like a ritual. Yeah.
Correct. Once you can do that, and people can write their goals down, be specific as to what they want to achieve. It can be small, it can be large, but it needs to be date specific. By doing that, you know what your path is. You will then associate yourself with like-minded people, positive people, which will then help you grow. And that's basically all it is. Find people, model people who will do things well and do things that you want to do, and just model them. Ask questions, do what they do, and you'll be able to achieve your goals. There is no real secret to it. You know, it's just about being passionate, have a drive, and going for it.
Right. And really, at the end of the day, too, what I like to say is, for people watching and listening now, is that you can have people who are successful, who are nice. You can have people who are successful with no integrity either. Okay, that's a given. Yeah. So in this case with George Fokas, I feel very strongly that this man walks his talk. He tells it like it is, kindly, but he still tells you the truth. And it would be very good for you people out there who think that what I'm doing now isn't working, isn't getting me to my goals in the time I want to. I'd want to retire 50 years from now, folks. That you give George Fokas a ring, an email, whatever it is, and at least do yourself the favor to investigate what he's talking about and get the proof. And it resonates with you, get on board with George, because I think this is one strategy which is not very well known, but like he said, there are ways of protecting yourself, which is something that, like I said, a lot of others will not tell you. They can tell you about how you can make money. They don't tell you about how you can lose it as quickly. So George has put into place the strategy that actually protects 90 to 95% or 99% of your money. So on that note, George Fokas, thank you very much for spending that hour with us. having stepped off the plane from Los Angeles just about an hour ago. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate your enthusiasm. And I know that people will resonate with what we've talked about here and will come and visit you and see how we're going with that. So on behalf of Your Money and Your Mindset and everyone who's watching this show right now, all I can say is have a good day, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we're going to say a nice goodbye to George.
One thing, if I can say a good thing before we go, though, if that's okay.
Yes.
I challenge the listeners to challenge me in anything that I've said. Allow me to prove it to you. People don't know who I am. I don't want people to believe what I say. By all means, get in touch with me, George at focusbeyond.com, or go to the website and send us an email and ask any question they like and allow me to prove it to them.
Wow, that's a big call, and I know he said it. He's offered that simply because he can prove it to you. So there you go, folks. So again, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much, George, for your time. God
You're
bless.
very welcome.
Thank
you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Are we done? Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, that was fantastic, George.
Okay. So have we cut it now?
Yeah. I can talk to you now. There's a lot of energy. A lot of energy. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Sorry, I have been up for over 30 hours, so...
your brain was saying it's time to go to bed. Okay.
I think my computer was telling me.
Okay. All right. I think we can hang up now. And
okay.
Can I have a quick word with you on Skype, please? I'll just turn Skype on. I need. Okay.
Absolutely. I'll turn Skype